Uh, Welcome. Thank everyone for coming to tonight's meeting of the Town Council Planning Committee. There are no members of the public in the room and none on Zoom that wish to speak, so we'll move on to item 2, which is apologies for absence. First, I'd like to say that the Town Mayor and Councillor Scott are both unwell, so this committee would like to send their best regards and speedy recovery to both of those. And I believe we also have Councillor Dooley.
Councillor Dooley has got a personal commitment. He's away at the moment, yes.
So I propose that we accept those. A second. Show of hands of support. Item 3 is to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of March. These have been sent to you, at least for accuracy. I would like to propose those, please. Second. Thank you. Any comments on those minutes at all? I'll show of hands to adopt those minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Item 4 is to receive members' declarations of interest. Are there any?
Do you not have a district one?
Oh, sorry, I do apologise. Yes. Yes, I'm a district councillor and on the district planning committee. I reserve my right to change my opinion as and when and should new analyses, documents and information come to my attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just clarify, we're only asking for declarations regarding ones that are actually that we discussed tonight, not ones that were on the overall agenda that were not commented.
That's fine.
Right. Item number 5 is to take note of a delegated decision, DM 220561, which was made a delegated decision by the clerk in discussion with myself and vice chair due to MSDC requiring a decision before the 20th of April. The decision was committee have no specific comments but have no objection to the application. Can that be noted, please? Chairman's announcements.
It's your final meeting of the civic year, Chair.
It's our final meeting of the civic year. Don't get too excited. It isn't cake, jelly, or ice cream.
What a year it's been.
What a year it was.
We're going there.
Well, I do a lot of it. Thank you all very much for a very successful civic year at the Town Council Planning. We've made some good challenges and good representations. We've had some good arguments, debates, healthy, rational debates. We've helped members of the public, and I think we've all done very well. So thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you all next civic term.
Yes.
As long as I'm still chair. None of you want that job, please. Anybody else want that job? Okay. I'm going to share my screen. If I can find the Zoom meeting.
Have I given you permission?
Let me into it. Yeah. Oh,
There you go.
Better if we just roll that screen up.
Wasn't there a moment ago?
No, I'm just saying.
I can-
Screen up.
There we go.
Yeah.
You're very welcome to pull the board up if you wish. It's only a screen.
That's fine.
You cover that.
Yeah. The thing screen is all wrong.
It's a bit of a wobble, isn't it?
It's on the sixth.
Okay. Item number 7 are licensing applications. We normally refer these to the licensing officer if you want to make specific comments. There are 2. LI 220448 for La Verona. This is our sale of alcohol consumption off the premises, extended opening times on Fridays and Saturdays. And LI 220455 Papa John's for King Street. This is a new premises license. Does anyone have any comments they wish to add to these at all? I propose that we refer to the licensing officer. One second for that. And I'll show of hands to do that. Thank you. Item number 8 is protected tree applications. Again, the same with this, that we'll refer to the tree officer unless there's any specific comments. So I'd like to propose that we refer to the tree officer. Can I have a second to that? Any comments?
Well, just one there. There's one here for in Baldwin's 22 Manning's Close. Fell due to excessive shading.
Yeah.
I've not really heard that one before, presumably.
Funny enough, I had to remove a tree from excessive shading once. Yeah, it was a tree, wasn't a protected tree, it was no great value, but it was so dense and so big in such a wrong place that everything in my garden grew at this angle, and my land was pitch black, and we took it out, and suddenly everyone's gardens opened up, and it was lovely.
So
It made other things grow better.
Just go to the tree officer.
You'll go to the tree officer.
okay.
You can add a comment.
You had a comment that you wish that it was.
No,
only
I just
removed.
raised it.
That's
I've
the
not
last
seen it
one.
on a report before, and I just wondered if anybody could say that, couldn't it? Doesn't seem to be a very good reason to chop down a good tree to me.
Or we can make a comment if you wish that.
No,
only-
well,
can
I'm happy to leave it.
can only
leave it
be
to you.
felled if no other options
I
available.
mean, I don't know how good the tree is or what.
Is it a desktop study in terms of that, or do they go out and physically see the tree?
Depends. They don't always go out. They don't always go
Then
out.
I'm perhaps put something in there to say that the tree officer needs to go and visit that to make sure that.
Because it is 3 trees.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that probably is the answer. Yeah. I'll go with that.
Okay,
Suggestion,
so
is it?
going to suggest that the Mid Sussex tree officer be sure that this is indeed excessive shading
Yeah.
via site visit.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Councillor. If you're happy with that, I'll show of hands to got that comment. Okay, we're going to start with DM 220629. I'd like to clarify that this description is actually, the address is incorrect. It says Coles Estate Agents, 18 High Street, East Grinstead. Coles Estate Agents is no longer there. It was there a long time ago. Coles Estate Agents had the other side of the road. So it really should just be 18 High Street.
I'm sure it's true now. I'll try to find it.
DM 220629.
Page. We should have that.
Oh,
69.
okay, look.
So this is combine the existing units and change use from storage to Class E, new shopfront design and opening bifold windows. So this is quite an interesting one. I've got my laser pointer. I don't know how many people know this particular shops. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
This side here, the hairdressers. This side here was the accountant. They're facing the middle, it goes up to the flat above. Looks like it's been taken over by the people who own the restaurant next door. Who want to knock it into one space. You can see that you got the laser pointer there, or is it?
Oh, I do.
It disappeared at the face of the earth. You see here we have a small shop and a larger shop. Make it into one unit. A new bifold front rather than the little bays. So this is Town Wall.
Unfortunately, Councillor Scott's not with us this evening.
You town district.
No, it's town.
Would you like to?
Well, I would say, obviously, it's conservation area. I guess technically you're losing potentially 2 separate units. It is changing the fascia, but when we look at what's happened recently in that area of town, fascia, the frontage of the buildings has changed. I think also there could be a question mark about another high street building being turned into an eatery or expanding into eatery. But I think on balance, I think I would support this as long as the conservation officer is happy with the proposal for the shift.
There is a comment in the heritage saying that they are happy with it. It is not a listed building, it is a conservation area, and they don't think that it is significant transformation. And it is actually, because of the, as you say, the shops next door changing, it actually keeps it in line with. Yeah.
So I think I would support it.
Can I have a second for that? Any comments or questions on this?
Well, only I have been walking past it. I know there's some work sort of seemingly going on already. I assume that they're not doing anything that's not, that we, well, hopefully it will regularise what permission is for.
They just painted the front
It's
of the
just
building.
painted, okay, but the owner was out there and he said that they were going to look to turn it into a sort of champagne and shellfish bar, is what he said. And I don't know how much demand there is for it, but I know that the cafe and the restaurants and top in the high street area of town are really very popular. So I'd be supportive of that, and it's much better to have that than an empty shop. So I'm supportive. Thank you.
Can you just expand the image a bit? Because I'm
Yeah.
slightly confused with the befores and afters.
Yeah. So am I.
Are they different? They're just sort of showing different designs.
Different table layouts, really. Yeah.
Okay. And so originally it's one door with 2 internal doors to each.
Yeah.
office.
So originally you come in here, you turn to the right to be in the
Yeah.
salon as it was that family, into what was Coles, but within the accountants into this one.
Yeah.
There is one kind of slightly, there's an objection on there, which is to the flat above.
Yes.
That at the moment comes into this vestibule, goes up this staircase to a bar, but now they've got to go through a bar to get in. I think that's not really a planning issue, looking into it, and that's more an issue. They've got lots of pictures of tenancy agreements and things like that. That's really an issue between them and their landlord.
And I would say that there's going to be a noise issue for them as well, because an accountant's office and a hairdresser's.
Yes. So that will be that is a private issue between that tenant in particular and the landlord to address, not something that necessarily falls under our agreement. I would echo the point. I think this shop here is tiny, absolutely tiny. This is a funny shaped unit. I think they're both quite tricky to rent in that particular place, and the window design makes them quite hard to see into. But I think this was probably more attractive.
My only query would be that it's double doors.
They do match next door though.
Okay, that's fine.
Actually, these are quite twee. They're not heritage.
No.
I think this is all part of the bomb damage area.
The other thing I'd add is I don't think we want the high street shops or obviously empty. I think we do need to preserve the area and keep them.
We are seeing a shift away from retail to buzz and so forth. So I think we should encourage and support that where possible. Yeah.
I think if it was a retail unit, I wouldn't support it, but I think that's what it is. I'll go along with it.
I think even if it's a retail unit, I think making it into one seems a lot more sense than it being 2 awkward fiddly shops as it is at the moment. In that case, can I show of hands to support? Thank you, Chrissy. Next one is 1 and 2 Orchard Farm Cottages, Holteye Road. This is loft conversion with front and rear dormers, single story rear extension and part front extension. So this shows the location here, and it also shows the blue bits being some extensions. The picture they submitted. This is the after. This is the changes to the box as well. So this is Ashplatz. So
Yeah, this property is not very visible from the main street scene from the main road. Now the proposed single story extension at the front, part at the front, and then at the rear. I don't think I don't see any problem with that. There's a huge space, especially at the back of the garden, and but the look conversion causes a lot of changes, especially to the general appearance of the building. There are many dormers at the front, and also there's also a balcony at the back of the property, proposed property. But I don't think it's overlooking any directly the neighbor.
yeah, this is the front here with the doors. This is the rear of the balcony.
There's no name there. And I think generally it's okay for me, and I would support the application.
You have a second to that, please? Any other comments on this at all? I think I would echo Hanson's comments. If this was in a different location, I might be more concerned by that. I thought it was worth discussing it tonight. But I think because of where it is, I don't see.
No comments.
There's no objection.
No objection.
That is another show of hands. To support. Okay, so this is DM 220947. This is 6 St Hill Green. This is a single story rear extension. We're going to encompass into this DM 220948, which is the listed building for the same property. So we'll take 2 votes on it, but it's the same property. I think some of you may, if I zoom up on it, may recognise the property from St Hill. Little character property there. Quite cute. This is the site boundary. And my normal bit of software isn't working today. I'm going to use this, which is a little bit clunky. Okay. I think this is quite a good one to show the new construction, which is this glass here. This is Herrington. So
yeah, I don't have any issues with this particular application. I actually quite like the model with the old style property anyway. There's plenty of land around it. It's not in any way, shape or form going to be imposed upon anybody else's property. No one can see it as per se. Obviously subject to the listing building consent. I'd be happy to agree.
Okay, I'll second for that. I would agree. I think I'm reading the notes on this with the conservation and with the pre-application discussion of having something that is not trying to match, but be significantly different to show the aging in the property's life. I think it does it very well. It's very cool, very minimalist. I like it. So I agree with you. Any other comments at all, Christian? Additional show of hands. I am pleased. I like that.
I think that one, so that Adam can take the next one.
You win. That's a bit like when we get a patient come in that Danny sent me at the hospital. That's really easy. I go, yeah, I'll do that, because the next person gets the really horrible one. Okay, this is DM 220981. This is outline planning permission for land adjacent to Toy Box Nursery, Coombe Hill Road, East Grinstead. This is an outline application for 5 dwellings with all matters reserved except for access. Do you know where it is before we start?
2.
No.
No.
Coombe Hill Road, Dunnington Pub. There's a bottom end for Dunnington.
Oh, right.
You
I
got,
looked at the map and did it show on the map? Did it show on the map the place we expressed an interest in?
further up the road.
Yeah, that's not here. This is the piece of the land that's owned by the church, and the Toy Box Nursery is in part of it. That's not what they're looking at doing. They're looking at the land adjacent to
So
it.
this is Toy Box Day.
It's right at the far bottom.
Oh, right. Can you zoom in a little
I
bit?
can. It's opposite Tobias Art Centre.
Yeah, it's not far away then, is it?
So this is Coombe Hill Road here. If you drive in from West Hagley Road,
Yeah.
this is the nursery. This is the plot of land here.
Those are little units at the top there, aren't they? Or is it-
Much further up. There's a house. Isn't it?
Bull Rush, that's Bull Rush Farm, Bull Rush's farm, isn't it?
Yeah, that's further
That's
up.
further up Coombe Road.
Right.
This is the plot of land from various different views. Do match those arrows. This is the plot of land here. Some more views of it.
What is it? Do you know the designation of the one at the moment?
I will explain in a second, please.
Thank you very much. I thought
This is the access here, and these are the proposed layout of the houses. I think if I go back, got my hat on here. I don't have it. That's annoying. There is a picture of the access online, and I haven't got it here. There is a very small single farm gate that provides access to the site. I'm sure that some of my colleagues will expand on this, but just for point of reference, the access is owned from it, but only across the verge for the width of the gate, not either side of it, which is owned by the Coombe Residents Association, and one side is privately owned, and the land is AONB.
Right.
So, Councillor Beecroft, would you like to start us off on this one?
Yeah, well, I think it's a good summary. It's attracted quite a bit of interest locally. But I think the first thing is the fact that it is in the AONB, so it's in conflict with EG1, because these would be new build houses. That's the first thing. That's the first policy divergence. I think you could also argue it doesn't comply with EG3D regarding transport. I believe on the portal, the trustees of Coombe Hill Road and Medway Drive own the grass verge and Coombe Hill Road. I think they're saying they don't intend to give any further access, create another access from Coombe Hill Road onto that piece of land. And as you've alluded to, the current access that is allowed is a gate in the corner for agricultural purposes. So I think potentially it doesn't comply with EG3D to do with transport. And I think in that background, maybe the applicant should provide alternative access plans, but I think it needs digging, greater delving into to see if it is a planning issue. And then also, I know it's seeking outline planning consent, but there are no draft of potential building heights or elevations and distances to boundaries. So I think it is outline planning permission, but it would be good to know the potential impact on sunlight and shadow in terms of the houses which should be Streetfield Place. So then on that basis, I think there's a number of question marks there, and I would recommend refusal on that. Thank you. I'll second that. Any other comments?
Can I just clarify that the land it's out, it's not tall and built up? Is it within the town boundary?
It's not.
No,
No.
so it's not within the town boundary, it's AONB, and it's obviously not a site
Yeah.
allocated
That's right.
anywhere in
Yeah.
any plan.
So I've got a similar one that happened a few years ago in Ash's Wood on Cansara Lane, where the 6 got outline planning permission, but the site had come forward in the local plan and was allocated in the local plan. This site, if it isn't allocated, then I can't, and it's AONB, and it's sort of greenfield site, and I can't see any reason why. And I think they have to be exceptional, don't they?
There are several exceptions.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure that this would meet.
they would need to have in repurposing an existing building,
Yeah.
rather than it is already, that was an existing building.
Yeah.
There's a slightly fluffy wording as well, which is more to do with something that is of sort of special interest,
Grand design type.
grand design
Yeah.
type house, eco house, something that provides something really special.
Yeah.
This is 5 estate houses. This is not providing that.
Yeah.
There's a serious issue, which is, I spoke to the trustees of Coombe Hill Road about the access, and there's no way that any of them, either the houses next to the site or the trustees, are going to give up any land to provide access for this housing.
Yeah.
So even if they did get outline planning through some weird breach of policy,
Yeah.
they can never fulfill it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, so, I mean, once I understand concepts like a windfall site or something which might provide additional houses, I don't think the site in any way
No.
meets that sort of definition, so I have to support you.
There's no point having AONB having these policies if we just overturn them. So is there anything you want to add extra to Councillor Odie?
No,
In that case, are you happy with all those comments, Councillor?
What I've got, Chairman, is recommend refusal. This is in the AONB and outside of the built-up area boundary and has not been approved as part of a site allocation document, which means that this is not supported by the current local plan and specifically EG1 of the neighbourhood plan. The access is unlikely to comply with EG3D, as the access is only the width of the gate of the land. Either side is not available due to private ownership.
Yeah.
Happy?
Let me now show of hands. We've got that. Okay. Interestingly, I have been approached by the developer that wants to do something not on this site, another AMB that wants to do an eco grand design house. That's far appealing than doing this. I've got a rare one. We've got a watered up. This is DM22 0564. This is Dutton Homestall Farm, Shovelstrode Lane. This is conversion of redundant farm building to detached 3-bedroom dwelling C3. Resubmission of previously approved DM20 1076. So this is, let's see, down Shovelstrode Lane, and this is the proposed, so the existing and proposed. Councillor Belzy on my link.
So, well,
In the-
I
in
do
the
know
summary.
so I do know the applicant, but I've not been in the house or anything. But it has had planning permission before.
This is resubmission.
Yeah, so I'm happy to support. Yeah.
Have a second for that? Any comments on that?
no.
Let me go show of hands. Give an old favourite. DM22 1090, land adjacent to the Grange, Firs Lane, East Grinstead. This is erection of detached dwelling on land adjacent to the Grange, Firs Lane. We've seen this come before us now multiple times. I'm sure you can all remember it. Where the red outline is the approved, the green is the new. We recommended approval on it. It seems to have bounced back and forth a little bit with district. I'm going to just lead in with it and say, I think our previous comments still stand, that I'm certainly happy with the slight enlargement. I didn't want to see it come back again with an increase in life. This is not an increase from when we last said. I have had a conversation in the meantime with the applicant, and I think the primary difference is at the moment the house is too small for a sort of family house. It's a kind of couple's house. He really wants to make it into a family house to move into himself with his 2 children. And enlarging it a little bit, I think, does that. There are bigger houses either side of it, and I think it's quite an attractive little design. Very inoffensive design fitting in there. So I would be happy to place acceptance on this, but no. As the committee's thoughts, we can have a second for that before we continue any further.
I'm not seconding it. I'm saying something.
We can't second, we can't say anything until we second it.
I'll second it.
Off you go.
I took another look at this site. It's just down the road from me. It's a tiny site, and I voted in favour of it last time. I don't know if I made a mistake, to be honest with you, because when I look at it again and how it affects the neighbour, it's a tiny little site, tapering to virtually nothing. And the people who sold this land off, they tried to sell the land, the other side, which was in Pine Road, right up against some poor people who lived there. That was fortunately thrown out. But when I look at this, the more I look at this, the more I think that it should never come up first place, to be honest with you. It's out of keeping with the street. And the site is very small, and if you're going to put anything on it at all, it's going to affect the neighbours on the London Road side. They're pretty distressed about it. They spoke to me about this. I don't know. I mean, I'm stuck with having supported it in the past. So
just for clarification, obviously, if you look at that, the red line, you can see that is the already granted permission, and the green line is the expansion in this application.
can you zoom in a bit? There's some.
Probably can go in even further.
I've got the glasses, so.
I have if I turn that light off as well.
Yes.
That is from the road. That is from looking at it from First Lane, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is there a close-up plan of that as well?
There is. I just think that some. Let's see if Deputy Mayor wants to just jump in whilst I find that.
Yeah, it's a question really. I'll be honest with you, I'm not up to date with 220081, where it says refuse new dwelling. So is this a resubmittance of 0081 then? It says refused new dwelling.
So there have been lots of things come forward that have been refused, and
So it's
one
been
has been,
tweaked.
and one has been approved.
It's been tweeted out three or four times.
Yeah.
Originally, the original plan was a lot larger than that. It was literally up to the boundary on both sides.
They've also twisted it so slightly. Quite hard to see. Can you see this dotted line here?
Yeah.
It's twisted a little bit more that way, a bit further from here, and a bit.
That's First Lane at the top, Fraser, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, the picture of the house there is not correct. It's actually a few degrees to the right.
No, this is the new site.
Oh, okay.
The previously approved is the green dots.
Oh, right, sorry. That was
It's probably
my question was that it seems that it has moved, and also it seemed very close.
I'll find that other picture. But this shows, can you see the dotted lines around this one? It shows the different elevations from all angles. Can you see that, Councillor Osborne?
Oh, sorry.
Just interrupting you, Chair.
No.
Excuse me.
I'm just going. I put the sound back on now. Chair.
Right, sorry, that's Deputy Mayor.
I'm so
I
disruptive.
think the key on the two slides is confusing on the applicant because green on the colour illustrated map plots, the green dotted line is previously approved, whereas if you slip over to the move over to
Yes.
the next. So actually, where the house is, the brown house, is actually the new location, proposed location.
Yes.
So it's probably balanced in a better sighting, I'd say, in line with, parallel to the fence. Up to your, I don't know the area terribly well. It is significantly higher, I'll say that, the more imposing.
I think it's pretty damning, that actual picture of it, that the drawing of it, as it impinges on the next door neighbour. That's the thing that I didn't really appreciate so much when I was last night.
So we're just trying to get the right.
Well, that one picture again, if you look at that one, I think you're talking about it. One you're talking about. I mean, the sort of illustration of it coming above. That's it. That part of the drawing on the left, I think. That's it. Look at it, right up against it.
See, there is a pathway here, a pathway gap here.
I'm not going to vote for it. I'm going to vote against it.
Well, I would say it finishes the scale. It is meaningfully lower than freeways.
It's lower than both.
The situation at the moment, Mr. Chairman, is that they had planning permission given by Mid Sussex, yes?
Yep.
For virtually the same thing. Is that right?
Slightly lower.
Yeah.
No, correct.
Do we know the net increase in number of rooms, bedrooms, or?
Well, it's bigger than next door. It says it's not a family house. It's not a family size.
I think the net elevation, I think the net increase, I'm not sure, I think what it is the bedrooms become bigger and you gain this little rear extension here, single story bit. So you get like a separate dining, kitchen-y bit.
Let's go further back. I think there's had an insult to injuries in the neighbour. That's all that is.
Any fresh comments?
My only comment is I don't actually think there is a material difference in the size of bedrooms. So from the living space area in the first floor, I can't see there is.
With the roof lights gone higher, that's it.
There's no, but yeah, but there's no width space or anything like that. And they've added extra space at the back. It seems like they've got permission for something, and then I think it feels like they're trying to add some extra in just to see how far they can go. That's what it seems to me, although I did say on second.
That's why I'm open up the discussion.
Not that that's a planning issue, though. That's the thing. It's whether there's, if we don't want to approve it, we have to have specific items from planning law to refuse it. Material considerations are loss of privacy, loss of light, overshadowing,
That's certainly
Very
happens.
impact on them.
yeah, that's something that needs to be, could be taken into consideration. But
How long is it higher?
that's it, exactly. The houses, every single one of those houses around the area are much bigger.
That'd be my only concern with that.
I can't see any Sussex refusing.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking the same. I'm sort of trying to imagine what if they actually had gone ahead and built it as is without, as the plans are, without having previous planning permission in place, and whether the planning enforcement people would say it would be unreasonable to push it back to what they actually got permission for.
Yes, because in 2 years' time they'll add a ground floor extension.
Well,
and that won't be a problem.
I can't. Yeah, I'm struggling to see what they would say. Particularly reasonable. It's obviously a balance. It's a balanced judgment. It's a balanced judgment.
I've got to be honest, I don't like the idea of just having planning commission then increasing it, as I said before, but I can't see a major issue with this. I really can't.
If you go back to the original plan, the sun rises in the east, sets in the west, of course, and if you look at it, I know exactly where it's going to take all the light away from next door, because in fact, if you that one on the left, the sun is coming, well, in the morning sun is on the right, it's coming from the right hand side, which is east. And it's completely,
Well, the southwest facing back garden,
yeah.
so they get sun all day. Right?
There is going to be a house there, whatever.
In the morning.
So there is going to be a house there, whatever, because the plan permission is granted. So we're really talking about the extra bit.
It's a bit of a bottom there, I mean, that's extra, a little bit at the bottom, isn't it, on that one? See that little square bit at the back,
Yeah.
The lower part. Well, I can see where you're all coming from. You can see that there's really no retreat on it, actually. But I should, on principle, vote against it because I made a mistake last time. I shouldn't have supported it at any time. So my situation may be well be different to yours. I'm very sympathetic to the people who live next door. They feel pretty shattered over it, actually. And the people opposite as well. You know,
There's no comments on the board about that.
so
There's no comments on the board. They've not objected.
no, they don't. But I can tell you, I go to the residents' meetings and I talk to all the residents, and it's a topic.
So can we just go for what was approved already? Just go for what was approved already, so no changes or?
That's the rejection, I think, is what I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it, and I have to say, for example, there's quite a large car parking area, car turning area. I just find it hard to, personally, I can't see many reasons to turn it down. I mean,
No,
trying to all the best thing in the world, I think.
Sometimes our job's very easy, like the last one where we have AONB and policies support our billions. This one, I don't think we've got a strong case against it, apart from not being particularly happy about the way they're doing it.
No, exactly.
But there's nothing illegal about
Exactly.
it.
And also, I know Councillor talks about the neighbours and things like that. Of course, no one wants to do anything that's still going to. You don't want people to be upset, but equally you've got it's only causing a problem further down the road if you don't.
Yeah.
And it is a 3 or 4 bedroom house, a family house. You know, so on balancing demand.
if you walked up the road, you'd quite standing there for all that side.
No, I don't doubt it.
I've seen the site.
Chairman, rather than supporting approval, you could send to the district that you find no valid planning objection. It's a small turn of phrase, but it does, I suppose, more appropriately reflect what I'm hearing from the committee at the moment. You're not. It's not that you particularly wish to support this application. Yeah. You're just unable to find a reason in law to turn it down.
I'm probably a little bit the other way, and probably I would actually be quite supportive of it. I quite like the redesign. But it's up to committee. I propose that we accept it and let district worry about the legalities of it. I think if Councillor Austin wants to object, that's
Yeah, I mean,
the right thing for him to do.
So I know where you were coming from. I just think it's a particular road where every house had its size, and it was a certain character of the street. And there's a house been plonked in a tiny part, somebody's garden. It was already sold part of his garden previously. Making a few bob out of it, and it just changes the whole.
I think when we saw before on this site, we saw some pretty ugly looking houses and some very big houses come much bigger than this come forward. So I think this is quite sympathetic to the road in its style. That's why I'm struggling to kind of. And you do have obviously, you've got Space House down there. You've got some pretty funky architecture down there. Some pretty out.
Space House has got quite a big site.
Yeah, You got some pretty funky stuff.
Well, there have been some planning mistakes around here, I can tell you that. There's another little tiny house, right? We all used to call it a public toilet, which is in Pine Grove, just round the corner, because that's what it looks like.
I don't think
Maybe we discard that from the record.
I wasn't mentioning that part, Chair.
it's not our people. And the thing is, you know, if you look at some of the, you know, monstrosities that have got approved in and around the town over the last 40 years, I'm looking at that house and actually that's not too
Well, there's
bad.
nothing wrong with the design, it's just that the site's too small.
Okay, I think we've had a good discussion on that. Let's bring that to a close. Do you want to show of hands in support of the application? Against?
That's carried.
Thank you.
Way more point.
You do.
You made your point, Frank. You stood your integrity. Well done, man. Okay. Last on the night is DM22 treble 14. This is Lyndhurst Maypole Road. This is loft conversion with mansard roof to front, dormers to sides, dormers to rear, raising of ridge line, alterations to rear outbuilding, with raising of ridge and dormer windows to rear roof slopes. Quite a lot there. For context, this is the house next to the house that got pulled down when the flats built on Maypole Road that kept going backwards and forwards. This is the current property. This is where they want to infill between the two ridges there. And from behind, again, infill, extend, and another little rear balcony here, and some dormers, and repurpose the outbuilding. Again, this is Inverhorn. I don't know if Councillor Osborne wants to go, or if you want me to go. I know the site well.
Where are you starting? I've just got one question first. So this is the house to the London Road side of the,
Yes.
where the ancient wall is and where the people who were most against that development,
Yes.
as I've seen it called, I've visited it a couple of times.
Glass extension to the rear.
Yeah. And they're developing on the London Road side rather than the other side, presumably, aren't
They're going up mainly into the roof. So we're filling in between. See the roof here filled infilled.
they?
So I think personally, this is actually quite a funky extension and roof conversion. Yeah. Funky is a planning term from now. The last meeting of the civic term, we're allowed to be a little bit crazy. Let's live on the wild side. No, I think it's a very architecturally interesting solution rather than some of the ones done to period properties. I think, let's be honest, there's massive extension right next to it. So it's not out of keeping with the street scene or overlooking anything. I think it's an interesting house with a very cool extension on the back already. I've been into the house looking at the property that was extended to the side. I'm very, very pro this. I think it's a nice addition, increasing the size of a family home. Probably don't want to move from, I don't know, but maybe a growing family, want more room. And I think it serves that purpose rather well. So I would be in support of it. Second for that. Any discussion?
I think I'm right in saying that area of town, that road, developments are going upwards in essence with the amount of flats and whatever that have been built down there. So everything's going up.
And this isn't actually, if you look at where the chimney height side of things, actually it's kind of leveling off. Councillor,
Can you expand that image on the right? Just
I
the
certainly-
front?
certainly can. You like the rear version as well?
No, really. I'm not a great fan of dormers on those houses, for us, you know, ugly. And I think it's, although that looks,
One could argue that this style of dormer is far more in keeping than some of the big box ones that we see.
yeah, actually, no, you are right. They've got windows facing that big new house, which they're so against, and I don't understand.
I think they're going to glasses.
Historically, it used to be two buildings.
No.
So
It's a big house. It's a big house inside.
Any other comments? In that case, my show of hands in support. Please. Against? In that case, I'd like to close the last meeting of the civic term. I don't know how much time it has. And take another chance to thank you all, and we'll see you on the other side of new committee and mayor making, which is on the 9th. We will see you on Wednesday again, the 11th. The time is 7:50.
I'd like to just thank you for your